Some people are not built to arrive early. You've probably met one, or you might be one yourself. As a kid, they were the quiet one in the corner of the room, watching more than talking, asking questions that made adults uncomfortable, not because they were troubled, but because they were already looking underneath things, underneath the rules, underneath the performances, underneath the noise everyone else seemed so comfortable making. The psychologist Carl Jung spent much of his life studying a process he called individuation, the slow, often painful work of becoming a whole, undivided self instead of a patchwork of roles borrowed from parents, culture, and expectation. And one of the quieter implications of his work is this: not everyone individuates on the same clock. Some people arrive at themselves shockingly late, and that lateness is not a malfunction, it's a different design. Think about how most people build an identity. They absorb what's around them: a career path modeled by a parent, a belief system inherited without question, a personality shaped to fit whatever room they're standing in. It's efficient. It produces confident 22-year-olds who know exactly what they want. But it's also shallow, because none of it was actually tested. It was installed. The late bloomer can't do this, even when they want to. Something in them resists the shortcut. Ask them to commit to a career at 20, and they'll feel a strange, wordless friction. Not rebellion, just a refusal that comes from somewhere they can't fully explain. It looks like indecision from the outside. It feels from the inside like protecting something that hasn't finished forming yet. So their 20s often look messy. Jobs they quit, relationships they can't quite stay in, a sense of watching everyone else's life snap into place while theirs stays stubbornly unresolved. This is the part of the story that hurts the most, because it's the part where comparison does the most damage. Friends are getting promoted, getting married, building the visible markers of a life that's working. The late bloomer is still asking, underneath it all, a much older and slower question. Who is actually doing this, if not the person other people expected me to be? Jung believed that psychological depth and early life ease rarely travel together. A person whose inner world is unusually vivid, full of contradiction, intuition, and unresolved questions, will always have a harder time slotting into systems built for speed and conformity, not because they're incapable, because compliance would cost them something schools and workplaces don't have a name for: their coherence. There's a second layer to this, and it's uncomfortable to say out loud. Consciousness has a cost. The more clearly you can see how systems actually work, the performances, the status games, the quiet dishonesty that keeps institutions running smoothly, the harder it becomes to participate in them wholeheartedly. You can't chase a version of success you've already seen through, so you hold back, not out of arrogance, but because some part of you refuses to compete in a game you don't believe in. This is where loneliness enters, and it tends to arrive earlier than people expect, sometimes the late 20s, sometimes the early 30s. It's not the loneliness of having no one around, it's the loneliness of being around people and still feeling unreached. Small talk starts to feel unbearable. Deep connection becomes rare because so few people are asking the same questions at the same depth. And this is the most dangerous stretch of the whole process, because it's where a lot of people quit on themselves. They numb out. They force themselves into a mold just to stop the ache of not belonging. And something in them goes quiet for a long time afterward. The ones who don't quit go through something else instead, a kind of dismantling. They stop measuring themselves by outside approval, because outside approval was never built to recognize what they're actually made of. They start turning toward the parts of themselves they'd normally look away from: envy, fear, the private shame of feeling behind. Jung called this shadow work, and he considered it unavoidable for anyone serious about becoming whole. You cannot integrate a self you refuse to look at. This is slow, unglamorous labor. There's no finish line you can point to, no moment where a certificate arrives saying you're done.
but something is being built in that darkness, quietly, without applause, and it doesn't announce itself, it just accumulates, a kind of ballast that most people spend their whole lives without, because most people never went below the surface long enough to find it. Society doesn't have a good name for people in this stage. It calls them unmotivated, late, behind. It rarely occurs to anyone that maybe they're not behind at all. Maybe they're refusing to choose falsely, refusing to build a life on a foundation they haven't tested yet. Waiting looks exactly like failing, right up until it doesn't. And somewhere around the mid-30s for a lot of these people, something shifts. Quietly, internally, long before anyone else notices. That's where the second part of this story begins. By the time a late bloomer reaches their mid-30s, something is usually already changed, even if nothing external shows it yet. The anxiety that used to follow them everywhere starts to loosen. The constant low-grade comparison to other people's timelines starts to fade. It's not that ambition disappears, it's that it stops being frantic. Something Jung called individuation isn't really about self-improvement in the way we usually mean it. It's closer to self-recovery, stripping away everything borrowed until what's left is actually yours. Here's the strange advantage buried in all those wasted-looking years. Because this person never built a life on an identity they hadn't examined, they skip one of the most common traps in adulthood. The slow-motion collapse of realizing at 45 that the life you built was never really yours to begin with. Midlife crisis, in a lot of cases, is just individuation arriving decades late and much more violently. The late bloomer front-loaded that pain. They paid it early in installments instead of all at once. So when their moment finally comes, it doesn't look like an explosion. It looks like alignment. People around them start to notice a kind of gravity. Not charisma exactly, more like weight. Their words carry more. Not because they talk more, but because what they say has actually been tested against years of internal scrutiny. Nothing is performed. There's no hunger behind it, no visible need for approval, because approval stopped being the point a long time ago. This is when opportunities start to look different too. Earlier in life, opportunity usually meant status, a title, a paycheck, a way to prove something to someone. Now it tends to mean something closer to fit, work that actually uses what was built in all that quiet incubation. This is part of why people who go through a long individuation process often end up drawn to fields that reward depth over speed, things like systems thinking, leadership, writing, therapy, design, strategy. They spent years watching instead of competing, and that produces a kind of pattern recognition that's very hard to fake or rush. Something else happens here that's easy to miss. They stop being afraid of judgment, not because they've become thick-skinned, but because their sense of self no longer depends on being ratified by other people. Praise doesn't inflate them. Criticism doesn't destabilize them. Jung would have said this is one of the quieter markers of psychological maturity, the capacity to be misunderstood without becoming bitter about it. And bitterness really is the last obstacle. A lot of people get this close and lose it here, looking back at their 20s and 30s as wasted time, measuring themselves against a timeline that was never designed for them in the first place. The ones who make it through do something different with the same memories. They stop framing the delay as failure and start seeing it as protection, the very thing that kept them from calcifying into a shallow version of themselves before they were ready. That reframing changes everything. The past stops being a weight they drag behind them and becomes something they can actually use. Relationships shift too. There's less appetite for intensity just for the sake of feeling something, and more appetite for resonance. Fewer people, deeper connection, more honesty, less performance. They stop needing to be understood by everyone and start being satisfied by being understood by the right few. By the second half of life, something has fundamentally changed in how they move through the world. Status has lost most of its pull. Fear has stopped setting the pace. Jung believed the second half of life isn't meant for expansion outward at all. It's meant for depth, for the slow integration of everything a person has lived and learned. Most people never really reach this stage because they spend their whole lives defending an identity that was assembled too early, under too much pressure, with too little examination. The late bloomer arrives here already prepared because they were forced to do the work decades before it was fashionable or comfortable to do it. Their success, when it finally comes, doesn't rot from the inside the way early success sometimes does, because there's nothing underneath it left unexamined. There's no fragile foundation waiting to crack. It's not louder than anyone else's success. It's just steadier, built slowly, tested constantly, and for the first time in a long time, entirely their own. If any of this sounds familiar, if you've spent years feeling behind, out of step, unfinished while everyone else seemed to have it figured out, it might be worth considering that you weren't behind at all. You may simply have been early for a different kind of life, one that hadn't arrived yet.